Welcome to the 2020 University of Wisconsin Law School virtual graduation ceremony. It is my pleasure to honor our 2020 graduates and congratulate them for all the hard work and dedication that has brought them to this very exciting moment. Originally, we planned to host our annual hooding ceremony where faculty present our graduates with their doctoral hoods. Unfortunately, current events have made it impossible for us to hold that in-person, up-close event. It was extremely important to me, to our faculty and staff at the UW Law School, and to our graduating students that we nonetheless create a virtual celebration, an opportunity for our graduates to be honored and recognized, and for them, along with their loved ones, to commemorate this momentous achievement. I am so pleased that we could do this today in honor of the 2020 graduates. The graduates have had the opportunity to choose their speakers as usual, and you'll hear from them. After that, there will be a formal roll call where each graduate will be recognized individually. We have also provided an online program. When we're able, we will print copies of the program and the speeches, and those will be sent to each graduate as a keepsake. This is the last graduation exercise that I will participate in as Dean of the UW Law School. It has been my privilege to be the Dean of the Law School for 9 years. And one of the very special aspects of that role is to be there for some very important community events. A lot of those events couldn't happen this year. We didn't get to go to the Leo banquet, welcome new students at Admitted Students Day, or enjoy ice cream at Just Desserts. But this, your graduation, is something I wanted to be part of. It has been my honor to lead the law school and my pleasure to see each of you go from brand new student to accomplished graduate. None of you anticipated ending your law school careers this way, and I know that while this is a great day, you're probably feeling some sadness about the abrupt ending to your time in our physical community, and some uncertainty about what lies ahead in this quickly disrupted world. Let me say a few things about that. The first is that you should feel very proud of yourselves. It is sometimes said of movie star Ginger Rogers, who was, for those of you who don't watch old films, a frequent dance partner for actor Fred Astaire, that she did everything he did, but backwards and in heels. That made things harder. And so did the events of this spring. Law school is hard enough, and in your last semester, the challenge of the coronavirus pandemic made everything harder still. And yet, in the face of the biggest social disruption that most of us, will ever experience in our lives, you were able to rise above it, to complete your coursework, and to embark on your future. That meant that notwithstanding the noisy roommates, bored children, that annoying echo on the group meeting software, and your own anxieties, you were able to focus on the task at hand. I'm immensely proud of all of you for getting to this point. This should give you some confidence going forward. If you can do this, as you have, you can quite literally do anything. We often talk about the importance of resilience. The world is changing quickly and will continue to do so. Being resilient, being able to respond to those changes with resolve, energy, and good humor will serve you all in tremendously good stead in the years ahead. You have all gotten a tremendous dose of resilience and have responded beautifully. After this, it is hard to imagine the challenge that will stop you. I also want to remind you that you emerge with something that is, in our current environment, critically important: the ability to help others. Each of us faces our own unique challenges in the current environment, and yet you now have something special that many others do not: the ability to use your legal education to serve. Whatever it is you do next, think about how you can devote some time and effort to making life better for others. We will need to work together to get through this and emerge into the more just world that many of you came here to create. I have tremendous confidence that each of you, in your own way, will do that in the months and years ahead. Let me end on a personal note. Many of you know that my own daughter completed law school this spring. Like you, she didn't have an in-person graduation ceremony, so I won't see my daughter earn her JD. To all the parents and loved ones out there who wish we could be together in person, trust me, I know how you feel. I wish we could have had that ceremony in person, but we need to keep you all safe. Please know that we're so very proud of your graduates and so honored to be part of this celebration in their honor. Our first speaker is the Honorable James D. Peterson, Jr. His love for the University of Wisconsin runs very deep. Judge Peterson is what we call a quadruple badger, having earned his BS, MA, PhD, and JD degrees all here at the University of Wisconsin. Judge Peterson was nominated by President Barack Obama in 2005 to serve on the U.S. District Court for the Western District of Wisconsin. He currently serves as the Chief Judge of the district. Before his appointment, Judge Peterson was a shareholder at the law firm of Godfrey & Kahn, where he was a member of the litigation and intellectual property practice groups. Judge Peterson was selected by the Graduation Student Committee to give this year's keynote. He has a special relationship with this class, having served as the keynote speaker for this class during their law school orientation in the fall of 2017. It seems particularly appropriate that he is here today to close the loop that was opened with his remarks to our new law students 3 years ago. Welcome to Judge James Peterson.
We meet here under some difficult and unusual conditions. But let's talk about the topic that should be on every graduate's mind, the graduation gift. When I was graduating from law school, my mom and dad offered to get me a nice briefcase. I told my mom that a really nice briefcase would be really expensive, but she said that was no problem. Pick out a nice one. I looked at some briefcases, but I decided I didn't really want a brand new fancy briefcase. Called my mom to tell her what I really wanted. Table saw. You can predict what she said. You'll cut your fingers off. I told her I'd be careful, and so that was my graduation gift and the start of my workshop, which is where I am now, in my basement. Let me explain why we're here. I feel a special connection to the class of 2020. I spoke to you on your first day of law school, and I'm honored to be your commencement speaker. But let's just put this out there. This is kind of weird. I really want to be with you in person at a traditional graduation ceremony with academic robes and law school hoods and everything. But here we are. You're probably in your pajamas, and I'm talking to you by video from my basement. Honestly, I'm kind of getting used to it. At the court, we now hold most of our hearings using Zoom. I do them right from my desk in chambers. The attorneys can be anywhere. And you're right, I have no idea whether they're wearing pants. But that's fair. I mean, they have no idea what I wear under my robe any day. But don't you worry. Today, I'm all dressed up from head to toe. When the regular hooding ceremony was canceled, I had to decide where I would be when I spoke to you. I thought about doing this in the courtroom. Might suit the importance of the occasion, I thought. But I decided on a space that's more personal, my maker space. That's what a boomer like me would call a workshop. My workshop is where I get away from the stress of my day job. Remember when I spoke to you back in 2017? One of my messages was that law is demanding, and you have to find a way to stay healthy and sane. Woodworking is that kind of therapy for me. So since we can't be together in person, I thought I'd take just a few minutes to share some lessons from my workshop that might be useful to a new attorney. And no, this is not just an excuse to show off my power tools. But before we get to the lessons, let me congratulate Dean Raymond on winding up her service as Dean. Dean Raymond, you leave a legacy you can be very proud of, and I'm glad you'll continue your contributions to the law school as a member of the faculty. Okay, let's look at some tools. Despite my mother's concern, I still have all my fingers. Although to be completely honest, I did shoot myself in the finger with a nail gun. Don't tell my mom. But I still have the finger, and the nail gun for that matter. So the first lesson from the workshop is this: keep your tetanus shots up to date. That table saw was a great graduation gift, but I've upgraded twice. This is the new one. It's probably the last one because it took 5 friends to get it down here. It has flesh sensing technology. Seriously, if you touch the blade while it's turning, it stops and retracts into the table instantly. I'm not going to demonstrate. But do a Google search for table saw hot dog and you can see how it works. In fact, you can see the inventor, Steve Gass, stick his finger onto a blade spinning at 4,000 RPM. Not even a scratch. Here's another interesting thing. Steve Gass, the inventor, was not an engineer at a big power tool company. He was a patent attorney and an amateur woodworker. None of the major tool companies wanted to license his technology. They actually fought hard against it. So he had to start his own company, and now the SawStop is the best-selling table saw on the market. So parents, here's a great graduation gift idea with no risk to any fingers. And a lesson for the graduates. Your path as a lawyer might take you somewhere you can't even imagine as you sit here today. I know mine did. Here's another tool I want to show you. This one's pretty simple. It's a bevel gauge. It's used to mark an angle on a workpiece. It's beat up, not very fancy, but it's special to me because it's one of the few tools that I have that belong to my grandfather. He's the one who inspired me to take up woodworking, and he taught me one of the most useful lessons of my life. My grandfather was a second-generation American, born in 1913. He dropped out of school to work after 8th grade. If you do the math, you realize he turned 20 in the deepest part of the Great Depression. Not long after that, he had a wife and 2 kids. The younger one would be my dad. My grandpa was outgoing and funny. He told a lot of stories about the old days, but they were mostly about hunting and fishing and raunchy jokes, including raunchy jokes about hunting and fishing, if you can believe that. He didn't dwell on the Depression, but that was a formative experience that showed up from time to time. If you complained that your meat was tough, he'd say, "Tougher where there ain't any." And he kept a big box of old nails. He'd rather spend an hour hammering some straight than spend $1 on new ones. He began the day with a nip of bourbon from a bottle he kept under the kitchen sink. Because he had a scratchy throat, he said. Funny, but that scratchy throat somehow just never went away. He was one of my favorite people in the world. He built 2 houses by himself, helped out by family members when he absolutely had to have another set of hands. But he wasn't a carpenter by trade, he was a truck driver. So I asked him how he managed to learn all the many trade skills that went into building a house. And that's when he gave me one of the best lessons ever. He told me your most important tool is a library card. Get a book and read how it's done. If you study up and work carefully, there's nothing a house needs that you can't learn to do yourself. This lesson gave me the confidence to take on some pretty big projects, including building all of our kitchen cabinets. I take my grandpa's approach in my shop. I study up and I work carefully. And over the last couple of decades, I've built up a pretty nice workshop, and I've become a halfway decent woodworker. I think I still have a long way to go, but I've got time. My grandpa lived a long life, but he died when I was starting law school. Sometimes I wonder what he'd think about my career as a lawyer, and I sure wish he'd been able to see me become a federal judge. But more than that, I wish I could show him my workshop. And I tell him, "Grandpa, life's too short to spend your time straightening bent-up old nails." Being a lawyer is a lot more like being a carpenter or a woodworker than you might think. Law school has prepared you with a good foundation of knowledge about the legal system and the structure of the law. And because you're lucky enough to have gone to the University of Wisconsin Law School, there's a good chance you had some introduction to the craft of lawyering. By that I mean the actual practical methods used to get something done. As a working lawyer, you will certainly continue to learn lots of new legal principles. But from here on, mostly you have to learn the craft, how to negotiate a good deal, how to plan and execute litigation strategy, how to bill your clients and get paid, and most important of all, how to write clearly and effectively. All this will be a life's work. So take some inspiration from my grandpa. Have confidence that there's nothing you'll need to do as a lawyer that you can't learn if you study up and work carefully. And please, use the library. Most of the problems you will face have been encountered by others, and somebody's probably written about them. Too many new lawyers just go online and look at cases. But cases alone will rarely give you the full background and practical perspective that you can get from a good book or an article. There's one more tool I want to show you. This is the lathe. Woodworkers have been using lathes for hundreds of years. They used to be powered manually, and pedaling the lathe would have been the job of the apprentice, kind of the woodworking equivalent of the new associate at a law firm. I can tell you the electric motor makes it a lot more fun for everyone. The lathe spins a piece of wood, and use a sharp cutting tool like this to form the wood into a round shape, like the leg of a chair. Simple concept. But the technique is not something that's easily learned from a book, and it takes practice, and it helps to have some guidance. So I've had some in-person coaching on this one, which leads to the final lesson. A lot of what I do in my workshop, I can do alone. And if I make a mistake, I can usually just grab another piece of wood and try again. But the practice of law is not so solitary. You'll probably have coworkers, and you'll be working with real clients with real problems. You can't always get an easy do-over. So the last lesson is this: don't go it alone. Find the colleagues who are willing to answer your questions and point you in the right direction. Most lawyers are eager to share their insights, often earned through hard experience, some of which you might be able to avoid. Those are the lessons from the workshop. Be open to where your path as a lawyer leads. Have confidence that you can succeed through study and careful work. And get some guidance. There will be more lessons along the way, and you may feel like you've got a long way to go in learning the craft of lawyering. But that's okay. You've got time. Today's occasion calls out for handshakes and hugs, but the moment requires distance. Let's not let our physical separation diminish the bonds that we've formed here at the University of Wisconsin. So in closing, I'll ask you to do two things. First, if you see me at a meeting of lawyers or out in the community somewhere, stop me. Come on up and introduce yourself as a member of the class of 2020. You will always have my respect and support. And I owe you a handshake, or at least an elbow bump. Second, every one of you has at least one person who inspired you and supported you like my grandfather did me. Take a minute today and tell that person what they've meant to you. Call them, send them an email, or best of all, if you can safely get a stamp, write them a note on a good old-fashioned piece of paper and send it through the U.S. Postal Service. I hope that each of you gets the graduation present that you really want, even if it's not a table saw. But mostly, I hope that you and your family and friends are safe and that you can celebrate this great moment together. Don't let the peculiar format of your commencement ceremony dampen your enjoyment. Congratulations to all of you.
Thank you, Judge Peterson, for those wonderful remarks. Our next speaker, chosen by our graduates, is a beloved faculty member, Professor Howard Erlanger. Professor Erlanger is the Voss Bascom Professor of Law Emeritus at the University of Wisconsin Law School. His areas of interest are wills, trusts, marital property, estate planning, and socio-legal studies. He holds several teaching awards and honors, but one is worth special mention. Every year, we award a Classroom Teacher of the Year honor that is voted upon by a combination of our student body and our recent alumni. After winning the award, the teacher is ineligible to win it again for 4 years. Professor Erlanger holds the record. He was just announced as this year's recipient of the Classroom Teacher of the Year Award for the 6th time. Please welcome Professor Howard Erlanger.
This is a moment of great joy and accomplishment, but also a somber one. Here we are, you at home on a couch, me here in my kitchen 3 weeks ago. We're gathered together to celebrate your accomplishments in a strange and unbelievable time. Some of you are watching this ceremony in delayed format because you or a loved one is dealing with COVID as I speak. Some of you may have even lost a loved one to the virus. All of you have lost the opportunity to engage, learn, and celebrate your final semester of law school. So more than any other year, our grads face an uncertain future. But your strength will come from facing that future together. Together with your friends, your family, your loved ones, and your colleagues. Now more than ever, we need to be there for each other. And all of us, everyone in this virtual auditorium, need to be there for the broader community as well. Yet here we are at graduation. You only graduate once, and no matter what clouds hang over us, it's time to celebrate. In that spirit, I've chosen to take my few minutes to share some lighter thoughts with you. To begin, the friends and family out there might be wondering, how'd this guy get chosen? The answer is simple. I teach trusts and estates, fondly known as T&E. So now those folks are thinking, okay, he teaches trusts and estates. What's the connection? Well, the key to trusts and estates is that it's a course that's required for the diploma privilege. And for some years now, I've been the only person to teach the course. It's Marketing 101. It's all about exposure. Doesn't matter whether you like the course, it just matters whether you could spell my name. Bottom line, all but a handful of students participating in this event have had my class, including, I'm honored to say, both student speakers. Also, Judge Peterson, our distinguished keynote speaker, as is his wife, as is his daughter. And as you know, federal law prohibits me from disclosing which of them got the higher grade. On the other hand, when I asked Ginny Jasty, the organizer of the convocation, also a former student, of course, why I was chosen, she said, "Howie, let's just say you teach the most comprehensive course in the law school. Whatever you don't cover in the course, it's on the final." In planning my remarks, I asked the dean how I could best further the goals of the law school in the brief time allotted to me for this talk. She said, "The graduation ceremony is the last chance the faculty has to reach the students. So use your time to correct any errors that may have occurred. If someone said something wrong, this is your chance to fix it." I told the dean this reminded me of the famous case of Acme Parachute. In Acme, a manufacturer discovered that it had made an error in its instruction manual. But it was just a small error, so they took out an ad in the local paper with a correction. Attention, attention to all purchasers of the Acme Deluxe Parachute. On page 3, paragraph 2, line 11 of the manual, where it says state full zip code, it should say, "Please pull ripcord." Meanwhile, I found this advice on the web about commencement speeches. Be mercifully brief, provoke gales of laughter, and be thought-provoking. Well, I've certainly been brief, and hopefully I've been funny. So it must be time to be thought-provoking. I'd like to take this opportunity to emphasize two of the most important things to remember as you go on your way. Nothing new here, but worth repeating. The first is law in action. The law in action approach takes seriously both the depth of legal doctrine and the breadth of legal experience. You can't understand the law without understanding it in its social context. Law is not a coherent body of rules. It doesn't have answers for each problem solved. Law is not an autonomous force. It's not just a matter of abstract logic, unaffected by everyday life. Law is not self-enforcing. Law is not just made by the legislature. And judges are not the most frequent and arguably not even the most important legal decision makers. Law, as experienced in everyday life, is created and given meaning through the activity of a whole variety of actors, both legal and non-legal. Now, as the graduates know, one of my fields of expertise is marital property law. And in the statutes, it says very clearly that spouses can hold property as survivorship marital property. So when I bought a new car recently, I went to the DMV and filled out the title, Pam and Howard Erlanger, survivorship marital property. But the clerk said, we don't have that. You can be Pam and Howard, or Pam or Howard, but you can't be survivorship marital property. We don't have it. Now, this is just plain wrong, and I thought to myself, aha, I'm a teacher, and here's a student. So I said to the clerk, I teach this stuff, and or are about management of property during life. Survivorship marital property is about the non-probate transfer of property at death. The clerk listened attentively. Then they said, "Wow, that is really interesting. I can't wait to tell my spouse that I met you and how clear that explanation was. This is really great. Now, which would you like? Howard and Pamela, or Howard or Pamela?" So I ask you, what's the law here? Is it what the statute says, or is it what the DMV interprets the statute to say? A second and closely related point is don't lose your common sense. People graduate law school, even when you come into law school, you have this notion that law is different from common sense, that it might even be counter to common sense, and that you're in a special world now and you should set your common sense aside. I don't agree. Consider the following story. I got it from the internet, so I have reason to believe it's correct. So it's a big money trial. The plaintiff is an elderly farmer. He hadn't been to town for many, many years. He loaded up his horse, his wagon, took along his dog, and off they went to town. When they were very carefully crossing the highway, a speeding truck came and smashed into them, causing very serious damage. At trial, the farmer testified at his great care in crossing the road and to his very extensive injuries. It looked really good as far as the trial was going. So the very fine lawyer for the defense calls to the stand the officer who was the first person on the scene after the crash. And that officer testified that he asked the plaintiff how he felt, and the plaintiff replied, "I've never felt better in my life." "Ah," says the defense lawyer, who knows the law, "I've got the plaintiff in a trap. This is inconsistent testimony." Then the lawyer for the old farmer calls him back on the stand and asks him to explain. The farmer says, "Well, when the truck hit, I was rendered unconscious. When I came to, I was in a daze. I saw the officer go over and look at the horse, examine him carefully, and then shoot him. Then he went to the dog and carefully examined him and shot the dog. Then he came over to me and asked me how I felt. I said, 'Hey, I've never felt better in my life.'" Actually, I've got a lot more I'd like to say about this, but I'm haunted by a class evaluation that read, "If I had just one day to live, I'd want to spend it in Howie's class, because it would seem like a year." So, not going to talk about it anymore today. Just want to wish congratulations to all the grads, and stay safe out there. It's an honor to have been your teacher, and thank you very much for inviting me to address you today. But wait, one last thought. As my students know, all my classes are subject to a lifetime warranty, and so that warranty extends to everyone watching the presentation today. But remember, that's my lifetime, not yours. But don't worry, because old T&E professors never die. They just lose your trust.
Thank you, Professor Erlanger. Our next speakers were chosen by their fellow students to speak to the graduating class. 2 of them were chosen by our JD graduates, and 1 will speak on behalf of our graduate students. Our JD graduates are Nancy Cruz, who left sunny California to come to the UW, and Ty J. Evans, who, after earning his BA and MA, served on active duty with the Army before joining us here in Madison. Finally, we have Daniela Faciano Nakano, a graduate student from Brazil, who brought to Wisconsin her passion for social justice and international human rights. All 3 students were active in our student community by serving as members and leaders of co-curricular activities and student organizations. Looking at their bios, it is clear that they all took full advantage of the remarkable opportunities that were made available to them here at the UW Law School. I am so excited and pleased to have these remarkable students be a part of today's ceremony.
Greetings, esteemed guests, faculty, staff, and most importantly, UW Law Class of 2020. I hope everyone is staying safe and healthy and that you and your families are able to join us today to celebrate this amazing achievement. I would like to begin by thanking all of our family and friends who have supported us along the way. Without your unconditional love and sacrifice, we certainly wouldn't be here today. With that in mind, I'd like to take a quick second to thank my family, in particular my mom and my brother, who raised me, loved me, and never stopped believing in me. Gracias, Mama. I'd also like to give a special congratulations to our peers who faced additional barriers on their path to obtaining this degree. To our minority students, first-generation students, parent students, students with disabilities, and any student who may have faced any additional barrier. Pursuing a law degree is a challenge in and of itself, that being faced with additional barriers can sometimes make it an impossible challenge to overcome. Yet, your courage, determination, and strength helped you beat those odds and get you to where you are today. You are an inspiration to us all. To be honest, I struggled to find the perfect words to say to you all, given the circumstances. In the blink of an eye, we witnessed the entire world turn upside down. What were supposed to be a couple of months of anticipation and celebration turned into months of solitude and concern for our loved ones, our communities, and for our futures. Nonetheless, I hope that in these times of despair, you are all able to find a glimmer of joy, hope, and simply a moment to celebrate this amazing accomplishment. I think I can speak for everyone when I say that law school has changed us and made us grow in many ways. If you had asked me 3 years ago how I envisioned my life after graduation, I would have never guessed that I would be starting my career in a city that was completely strange to me at the time. Now, Madison has become a second home. The last 3 years brought us many new experiences, some more fun than others, including bar reviews, uncomfortable cold calls, cheese curd and old-fashioned fueled adventures. But for many of us, they also brought moments where we felt as though we weren't cut out for this experience. Many times we felt the imposter syndrome slowly, or sometimes very quickly, creep in. Yet, we all found our way, and we all found our people, and we understood that there was a method to the madness. Eventually, we all realized that there was a reason that we were all here, and that we did, in fact, belong. In addition to learning more about ourselves throughout law school, we learned just how much the law impacts our lives on a day-to-day basis on both a large and small scale. Now, more than ever, it is important to remember that this degree is a privilege, and that we are trained not merely to understand the law, but more importantly, we are trained to seek justice. We have seen throughout history, and unfortunately, in our very recent history, how the law has been used to justify inhumane policies. On too many occasions, it has been used as a weapon against underrepresented and disadvantaged communities. This last month alone has shown us just how much power and influence is in the hands of those who implement and interpret the law. In a span of days, we witnessed how efforts to protect the right to vote for thousands of individuals in our state were overruled by technicalities in the law, and how people were faced with the difficult choice between making their voices heard and keeping themselves and their neighbors safe. Unfortunately, we live in a time where greed and self-interest often take precedence over the well-being of our communities at large. But that does not have to be our story. We have the power to write our own narratives, collectively and individually, and to use our education and our privilege to help one another. It is our responsibility as attorneys to do our part and to use our expertise to help those affected by abuses of power and to ensure that they all have the proper representation. There is no better time than now to remind ourselves that we must fight against these injustices and inequalities. We hold so much power to stand up for those who do not have a voice and for those who simply cannot fight the battles that we are equipped to fight. Even if our individual efforts seem minimal, they can truly save lives. And saving a life through our legal advocacy is a step towards saving the world. These are no doubt scary and uncertain times, but as President FDR reminded us in times of despair, we cannot escape danger or the fear of it by crawling into bed and pulling the covers over our heads. It is more important now than ever to remember that our character is who we are under pressure, and that it is our duty to ensure that we stand up for what is right, and that we support all of the vulnerable members of our communities. And I hope that no matter how scary or difficult things get, you will always remember que sí se puede. Congratulations, UW Law Class of 2020.
Esteemed faculty, mentors, colleagues, family, and friends, thank you for joining us on this significant day, especially during such a trying time. Fellow classmates, I want to reiterate that regardless of how recent events affected our final semester of law school, we should all be proud of the journey that led us to this day. I am extremely honored to have been chosen by my classmates to speak on behalf of the UW Law Class of 2020. This is a dream come true for a first-generation high school graduate, but today is not just about me. It's about all of us. It is a day to remember the past that led us here, a day to enjoy and appreciate the present, and a day to embrace what lies ahead. Let us take a moment to reflect on the past that led us to today. To quote Michelle Obama, "You can't make decisions based on fear and the possibility of what might happen." I still remember the fear and anxiety we experienced as we walked into our first Contracts 1 class. It was the first time many of us started to second guess our confidence. It was also the first class where my favorite instructor, Professor Henley, kindly reminded me, "Nobody cares about your feelings, Mr. Evans. What is the law?" I remember a group of us walking into the atrium after finishing our first torts class thinking, do we actually have to read all of these pages for one class? We realized then that sometimes it takes multiple read-throughs to understand a case. And even after several times, you may not still fully understand. But you know what I remember most? We did not let these fears or the possibility of not understanding a case stop us from persevering. I remember students from different races, genders, religions, political parties, and social classes who were willing to help each other. Our days in law school, both good and bad, helped us forge deep friendships that will last forever. Now let us take a moment to enjoy the present. Congratulations, we did it. We made the flashcards. We studied for hours. Whether you are patiently awaiting your first day at the public defender or prosecutor's office, transitioning to a first-year associate at a firm, or awaiting a job offer, I encourage you to take a moment to celebrate your accomplishments. We have all heard the saying, "It takes a village to raise a child." As a new father, I can attest to this being true. But what is also true is it takes a village to get through law school. Family, friends, colleagues, faculty, and mentors, you have all been our village. Without your support, your love, your shoulder to cry on, today may not be possible. We celebrate with each of you and say thank you for your continued support. Additionally, we embrace the future today. Without people embracing their futures, I would not be speaking to you today. We all have stories and individuals that help shape our lives and make us who we are. I'm going to share a few of mine with you. My mother made a decision at 15 to put her child's needs before her own. She sacrificed everything, and I will forever love her for it. As I would not be here without her embracing the future. A Canton, Ohio police officer, Michael Richardson, also embraced the future and his passion for giving back. When I was in the second grade, Officer Richardson told my class he became a cop because he wanted to help people. At that moment, I realized how much I also wanted to help people. I told Officer Richardson, I want to be a lawyer. He was the first person outside of my family who believed in me. This simple statement encouraged 8-year-old me to work hard and dream big. I may not be here today without him embracing the future. I also would not be here today without my wife embracing the future when she agreed to make yet another cross-country move with me so I can pursue more education. Each of these people helped me believe in myself, believe I could be the first person in my family to not only graduate high school, but also college, graduate school, and now law school. Class of 2020, now is the time to embrace your future. Prosecution or defense, corporate or labor law, whatever you are passionate about, allow that passion to become your purpose. But please be willing to get outside of your comfort zone. Embrace your job, pro bono work, and mentorships. And who knows, maybe one day you will be the next person who believes in someone and helps them believe in themselves. Thank you. On Wisconsin.
Faculty, staff, families, and alumni. I am just a Latin American kid with no money in my bank account, no notable relatives, and coming from the countryside. But I bring this song with me that says, despite everything, everything is divine, everything is wonderful. Although this may sound originally mine, Belchior, a Brazilian singer, wrote that. He continues to say, yeah, everything is divine, is wonderful, except everything changes and then it is not. We faced so many changes and challenges in our lives lately, and in such a short period of time. First, we came from places all over the world: Brazil, Cambodia, Chile, China, Ethiopia, Mexico, Philippines, Russia, Sudan, Taiwan, Thailand, and Togo. And as international students, we struggle with the simplest things like going to the grocery shop. We also experience more complicated things such as people being indifferent to us, stereotyping us, a semester interrupted by a global pandemic. We went through difficult times. Well, most of those things are in the past right now, and we gotta move on. Belchior, the Brazilian I mentioned before, also sings that by feeling lucky, he manages to not suffer for whatever happened in the past. Do you guys feel lucky? I feel lucky. I feel lucky for each day I lived in the beautiful Madison, Wisconsin. I feel lucky for having figured out how to open my locker and doing self-checkout at the supermarket. I feel lucky I could watch the marching band perform at a football game. I feel lucky I walked on waters that were obviously frozen, and even luckier for having a spotted cow at the terrace with my friends. I feel lucky for having great mentors that guided me to give legal arguments to my beliefs. I feel lucky for having a support system that I can call family. I feel so lucky for the friendships I built here. Dear friends, you taught me so much about so many things. Thank you. I feel lucky because despite of all, our work came along, and by the end of the day, you will be a master, you will be a doctor. Today, you reaffirm the responsibility to bring justice wherever you are. Finally, I feel lucky to be a privileged immigrant. The US played such a big cultural role in my country and community that every moment in Madison was magical to me. Everything was just so movie-like. This role extends to the economic and political scenarios in the international community, and we shall be mindful and bear responsibility just for being here. It is a privilege to be an immigrant student. As I speak right now, thousands of people are sacrificing their lives to come to the United States. Some of us came for CV prestige, some of us came with hope to change the world. Some have decided to completely change their career paths. We made the best out of it, and that's what matters. I know that everybody got the chance to get what they came for. I wish you all greatness, I wish you all extraordinary lives, and I wish you all would come visit me in Brazil, because I'll knock on each of your doors when I come to your countries. A special thanks to all professors who guided us into this journey, especially the ones that worked closely with the LLM-LI program. Professor Trina Tinglum, Professor Peyton Engel, Professor Noah Fittler, Professor Jeff Bowen, and Professor Jesse Bear. I would also like to thank the Graduate Programs Office, the AAP staff, Dean Moji, and Dean Margaret Raymond for all the support. Thank you, LLMs and SJDs. It is an honor to be here today speaking in your name. I am truly grateful for going through this experience with such an incredible group of people. At last, thank you for each one of you watching this ceremony. This is not just a virtual gathering, but a statement that together we can do great things. Thank you.
Thank you all for your remarks and for being part of our ceremony today. Now, we will have a formal roll call where each graduate will be named in alphabetical order by last name organized by degree type. We will start with the JD graduates and then move on to the graduate students. Students were given the option to submit a photo and quote to share with the audience. This is typically the time where family and loved ones cheer and clap for their graduates. We encourage that. And I hope that wherever you are, you still do it. Rise up for your graduate and cheer them on when they are called.
Hannah R. Albrecht, Jacob M. Alonzo, Dallas Tate Anderson, Sarah Arbaje, Lakina O, Austin D. Auletta, Nicholas Alexander Austin, Mason Richard Baranchek, Octavio Tenko Barreto, Joseph Samuel Beckman, Paul D. Beery, Cricket Beeson, Thorn A. Blitz, Joshua Alec Blumenfeld, Brian Francis Bradley, Nick Bratsos, Deborah Brower, Amy Buckmeyer, Connor M. Cannon, Jack T. Carroll, Kyle C. Caudill, Brian Peter Cawley, Brian A. Charbosian, Holton J. Chase, Hannah Claire Chalimsky, Tyler A. Crisco, Matthew Parker Conover, Patrick J. Courteau, William Huron Cowell, John James Crawford, Michael T. Crosby, Nancy Cruz, Jared John Dukovich, Ian Scott Davis, Jedediah Dodge, Sophia Patricia Dolan, Lindsay Douglas, Samuel James Erickson, Ty J. Williams Evans, Spencer Carter Ezel, Farah N. Famori, Jesse Fernandez, Emery Benton Flaherty, Samuel David Frasher, Nathan Fremming, Natalie Lauren Gerloff, Jared Jertson, Michael Reed Glaw, Megan Gomez, Nadia L. Gonzalez, Kathleen Marie Gresham, Zachary A. Guerin, Sydney L. Handrich, Amy Therese Harriman, Emily Jane Hicks, Sarah Jeanette Horner, Emily Jane Hyde, Julia Johanna Jago, Jonas Orrin Jacobson, Karen Jonch Clausen, Benjamin Jordan, Abria M. Correga, Dania N. Khan, Gordon Kochman, Kira Kelling, Kirsten Adrienne Koshnick, Nathan Mark Quenzi, Samuel Thomas Kuznevsky, Lauren Elaine Lacasto, Abigail Levenhagen, Alex Shafran Levy, Robert M. Ling III, Adam Jose Lowe, Jacob R. Lund, Megan E. Linice, Thomas John Linice, Keegan John Madden, Catherine Eileen Mahoney, Donald W. Malchow, Patrick F. Malloy, Tyler T. Manley, Jack Matthey, Lorenda Jean Molson, John C. McCarthy, Olivia McCarthy, Ezekiel Craig McDonald Lewis, Joseph Frederick McDonald, Kelly Ann McGraw, Douglas Christopher McIntosh, Adam J. Myers, Miles J. Meineke, Devin Montgomery, Samuel Jeffrey Morris, Nina Marie Neff, Weston O. Newman, Peter Thomas Nowak, Angela Brianne O'Brien, Abby D. Padlock, Cody W. Pansing, Vanya Pemak, Tyler Allen Fisher Piddington, Liam M. Pison, Gabriel Polak, Catherine Elizabeth Potratz, McKenna Marie Quinter, Olivia S. Rodich, Matthew Alexander Repp, Stephen William Ripley, Catherine Rowan, Perla J. Rubio Torones, Courtney Joy Runnels, Noah T. Rush, Alyssa M. Schaefer, Daniel W. Schwartz, Brian J. Seidel, Leah E. Selmick, Kevin M. Smith, Bella Abla Soba, Meg Hannah Sternitsky, Hannah M. Stewart, Will Strawby, Erica Dorothy C. Strebel, Lena Peterson Stubner, Kimberly Dawn Sweat, Erica Joy Tekwa, Eric L. Tierney, Kara Tolliver, Amanda M. Trecarton, Chris Turner, John Robert Vandehay, Lisa Vang, Gregory A. Venturini, Aaron Thomas Vruwink, Scott Robert Wellhausen, Gideon William O. Wertheimer, Sarah McGuire Wirtz, Kelly Teresa Wilford, Ryan McKinley Williams, Thomas Evan Witzel, Brad D. Woods, Xiaofan Zhang, Samantha M. Zlever, Kofi Dogbevi, Yuan Yuan Ren, Heywan Area, Victor Beltran Roman, Chen Shuangxiang, Roberto Cordova Guerra, Daniela Facciano Nakano, Luying Fang, Luqi Han, Shiwei He, Langqing Hong, Dongya Huang, Hanyi Huang, Mariam Ishmael, Jiang Hui, Wen Yu Li, Yanan Li, Xinyi Liu, Loveland Loreska, Yicheng Ma, Anastasia Martinova, Tianchun Mo, Qi Pang, Serikij Fongpatangkung, David Preminger Samet, Soromnir Sin, Bettelhem Taferi, Kanakorn Viryasutam, Shichi Wang, Xiaoyu Xia, Jun Yang, Yue Yu, Dachang Zhang, He Zhang, Zhou Zhou, Jiaqi Li, Jiatong Zhong,